Hello everybody. Today we at Hummingbirds are going to talk about puppetry. Now what is puppetry? Puppetry is a form of theatre or performance that involves the manipulation of puppets, inanimate objects often resembling some type of human or animal figure that are animated or manipulated by a human called a puppeteer. Such a performance is also known as puppet production. Now, puppetry involves everything like a movie. For example, there is production, direction, and note that the script for a puppet production is called a puppet play. A puppeteer uses the movements of fingers, hands, and arms to control devices such as rods or strings to move the body, the head, limbs, and in some cases the mouth and eyes of the puppet. The puppeteer is an all-rounder. You might have seen that during shows the puppets also speak to communicate. Now we note that the puppeteer manipulates their voice to that of the character of the puppet, while at other times they perform to a recorded soundtrack. Now, to understand the importance of puppetry, let us just have a look at the history, how it developed till date. Puppetry is a very ancient form of theatre, as you all know. It was first recorded in the 5th century BC in ancient Greece. However, we must understand that is not only the story of origin. We can notice in history that some forms of puppetry existed 3000, almost as early as 3000 years BC. Now, early evidence suggests that puppets were primarily used for magical purposes. The history of puppetry is closely related to feats of magic and conjuring. They both use sleight of hand and illusion. Magic and conjuring was not just limited to Egypt. It also occurred in ancient India, China, and Babylon. African ethnic groups still use puppets and masks in ritual dramas as well as in their healing and hunting ceremonies. Further, there is evidence for puppetry in the Indus Valley civilization. Archaeologists have unearthed one terracotta doll with a detachable and head capable of manipulation by a string dating to almost 2500. Puppets are described in the epic Mahabharata, Tamil literature from the Sangam era, and various literary works dating from the late centuries BC to early centuries AD, including the edicts of Ashoka. So, history of puppetry is long and very interesting to learn. China has a history of puppetry dating back 3000 years. Originally in Piyungzi, the theatre of the lantern shadows, or as it is more commonly known today, Chinese shadow theatre, by the Song dynasty. Puppets played to all social classes including the courts, yet puppeteers, as in Europe, were considered to be from a lower social stratum. Japan has many forms of puppetry, including the bunraku. Bunraku developed out of Shinto temple rites and gradually became a highly sophisticated form of puppetry. Chikamatsu Monzamon, considered by many to be Japan's greatest playwright, gave up writing kabuki plays and focused exclusively on puppet, that is only bunraku plays. Initially consisting of one puppeteer, by 1730, 3 puppeteers were used to operate each puppet in full view of the audience. The puppeteers, who dressed all in black, would become invisible when standing against a black background, while the torches illuminated only the carved, painted, and costumed wooden puppets. can understand that puppetry takes many forms, but they all share the process of animating inanimate performing objects to tell a story. Puppetry has been there in all human societies, where puppets are used for the purpose of entertainment through performance, as sacred objects in rituals, as symbolic effigies in celebrations such as carnivals, and a catalyst for social and psychological change in transformative arts. From early in the 19th century, puppetry began to inspire artists from high art traditions. In 1810, Heinrich von Kleist wrote an essay on the marionette theatre, admiring the lack of self-consciousness of the puppet. Puppetry developed throughout the 20th century in a variety of ways, supported by the parallel development of cinema, television, and other filmed media. It now reaches a larger audience than ever. Another development starting at the beginning of the century was the belief that the puppet theatre, despite its popular and folk roots, could speak to adults, audiences with an adult and experimental voice, and reinvigorate the high art tradition of actors' theatre. Now, shadow puppets are one of the type of puppets forms that have been used over a long period of time. Today, shadow puppets are used mostly in India and Indonesia. In these performances, the puppeteer sits behind a screen and light is projected from behind the screen so that the puppet appear only as shadows. Another form of puppets used were the rod puppets. The first rod puppets were shadow puppets. India and Indonesian puppets were manipulated with rods from below and Chinese from the side. Now, the glove puppets probably developed in China. They used rod puppets with cloths to cover the rods. The puppeteer put his hand inside the clothes to move the rods. Later, the rods were eliminated. Today, glove puppets are manipulated with fingers in the arms of the puppet. Most puppets today are glove puppets. String puppets. Historians are fairly certain that string puppets evolved out of automata. Now, what is marionette? We have come across this term so many times now. It is a term for string-operated puppets. They originated in France during the Middle Ages. Pinocchio is one of the most famous marionettes. Muppets. Jim Henson invented the first Muppets in 1955. He coined the term Muppets because his puppets were half hand puppet and half marionette. During the Middle Ages, Persian and Arabic cultures created innovative buildings and enjoyed entertainments not known in Europe. For instance, Persians played chess and watched shadow play performances. Muslims, Greeks, and Romans also had automata. The first true puppet plays were most likely derived from shadow plays. Originally in Indian and Indonesian shadow plays, there was a narrator and the puppets only pantomimed the action. Characters never spoke. This tradition was also practiced in Europe. Eventually, puppeteers began actually having the puppet characters speak for themselves. When the characters began to speak, they became the true plays. Indian puppetry is one of the ancient forms of entertainment. The suggestive elements of a puppet being controlled by a master makes it a captivating experience, while the low cost of animation and production of a performance makes it popular among freelance artists. The form gives unrestricted freedom to the artist in form, design, color, and movement, and makes it one of the most ingenious inventions of mankind. Origin of puppetry in India. Puppetry has long been of interest in India both for education and entertainment purposes. The excavation sites at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro have yielded puppets with sockets attached to them, which suggests the presence of puppetry as an art form. Oldest written reference to puppetry has been found at Tamil classic Silapadikaran, written around 1st and 2nd century BC. Although puppetry has found references in mythology and art, but due to the lack of a devoted audience and financial insecurity, there has been a steady decline in this art form. As we have already seen, we have string puppets, shadow puppets, glove puppets and rod puppets commonly seen in all over the world. Now in India, in the string puppet category, we have Katputli, Kundehi, Gombayata and Bommalata. Among the shadow puppets commonly seen, we have Tolu Bommalata, Ravanachaya, Togalu Gombayata. In the glove puppet category, we have Pavakoothu. Rod puppet, we have Yampuri and Putulnach. Now, string puppets. Let's see what string puppets are. They are chiseled out of wood and are 9-inch miniatures. Oil color is used to paint the wood to skin color and paint features like the eyes, nose, etc. on it. Strings are attached to small holes in the hands, head and back of the body, which are then controlled by the puppeteer. Miniature jewelry is attached to give puppets a realistic feelings. Now, traditional string puppets of Rajasthan are known as Katputli, which means a wooden doll. The puppets are covered in traditional bright Rajasthani dresses. The show is accompanied by dramatic folk music. A unique feature is the absence of legs. Strings are attached to the fingers of the puppeteers. Kunde. These are the names of the string puppets of Odisha. These are made of light wood and dressed in short skirts. These puppets have more joints and give the puppeteer more flexibility. The strings are attached to a triangular prop. Gommayeta. This is the traditional theatre of Karnataka. It has influence of Yakshagana theatre of Karnataka. Usually the presence of more than one puppeteer is there to manipulate each puppet. Bommalatam. Indigenous forms of art of Tamil Nadu. An iron ring is attached to the strings of the puppet. This ring is worn by the puppeteer to his head. Bommalatam puppets are the largest and heaviest of the marionettes in India. Some are as tall as 5 feet in height and 10 kg weight. Now, shadow puppets. These are flat figures cut of leather. Figures are painted on both sides of the leather. Puppets are placed on a white screen with light falling from behind to create a shadow effect on the screen. The figures are manipulated such that the silhouettes created on the blank screen create a telling imagery. Some of the forms of shadow puppets are Togalu Gombayata, popular theatre show of Karnataka. The size of the puppets changes with the social status of the character. Hence, kings are shown at a higher size than commoners. Ravanachaya, a popular form of entertainment in Odisha. The theatre puppet uses puppets with no joints and requires skill for operations. The use of non-human puppets is also seen. Tolu Bommalata, shadow puppetry theatre of Andhra Pradesh. The show is accompanied by classical music and is themed around devotional tales in Purana. Puppets are larger in size and colored on both sides. The puppets are worn on the hand of the puppeteers like gloves. The puppeteer manipulates the puppet using his index finger thumbs. Performances are accompanied by rhythmic beats of the thorax. Pavakoothu, traditional puppet show of Kerala. the influence of Kathakali dance form is evident on these theatre. Plays are themed around Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Rod puppets. This is a variation of hand puppets and are popular in Eastern India. Yampuri. Traditional rod puppet of Bihar. Puppets are made of wood and are without joints. They are carved out of wood and are painted and dressed in bright colors. Putul Nach. Traditional form of art in Bengal, Odisha and Assam region. The puppeteer controls the puppets using a rod attached to his waist. Performances are accompanied by a musical troupe. Puppets also help in early education. Puppets are magical creatures for early childhood settings. They can give instructions, turn tears to laughter, and be used in imaginative play by small hands as well as large ones. Using puppets to engage early learners offers multiple benefits across the curriculum and for social and emotional development. Here are some of the ways we can use puppets to engage and enchant early learners and teach them too in the process. My new buddy. We know that sometimes when children start in a new space, it can all be a bit overwhelming. Being asked to look after a new friend, a new buddy, often gives them a sense of purpose and something soft and to cuddle. A puppet can be there for a shy child to say hello to in the morning, to walk them around, read books with them, and wave goodbye until next time. Now, puppets also lead by example. Puppets can praise, be role models, or explain how things are done. They just need some movement and a different voice. Your skills as a puppet master don't need to be a Broadway polished to be effective. Play hide and seek with the puppet outside to develop a problem. Solving skills, cognitive awareness, and teamwork, all for a group search activity. A supportive puppet can model social interactions, like ways to ask to play with a toy, get children to act out of their feelings, or voice their fears or frustrations to a puppet. Finger puppets. Children love finger puppets and it really helps them in their learning process. Finger puppets are perfect for the littlest of hands to invent stories galore. Early learners can take on different characters and often shy children interact more easily as their puppet persona. We can use theme set of finger puppets as a part of an inquiry table. If finger puppets have a special home, it can be a part of the play. Then storage for these puppets when they need their sleep can also be a concept that followed. Older children can invent and perform their own plays. So these plays and things can be recorded and shown as video slides to parents who would love to see their children so involved in such activities. Puppet making is a great take-home or return-to-later activity for early learners. Use paper bags to either make pre-designed puppets or just put out bags, give them glue and an assortment of items like feathers, eyes, fabric cutouts for kids to experiment and design their own. So this enhances their creative skills. Craft sticks and plastic spoons are fantastic sources for puppet making too. Craft sticks puppets can be made by giving them ice cream sticks and then making them glue the body onto the stick. They can make animal figures and so on. They can draw directly onto the craft stick. Gluing craft sticks together to make the puppet can also be an advanced stage. Okay. Puppets can help children to learn rhymes and songs as they imitate the puppet too. There are a number of motor skills that children can improve through playing with puppets. The fine motor movement required to wear a puppet helps with dexterity and using fingers to manipulate the puppet and improves fine motor coordination. Puppets can also motivate and support children with difficulties in communication and interaction. They can help to develop their social and motor skills and can meet the visual, tactile and emotional needs of the individual child. Children can also use puppets for storytelling and dramatic play. they can use the puppets to act out their own scenarios and stories. So finally, we can see that puppets change the entire classroom by creating more possibilities for creativity, collaboration, critical thinking and curiosity. They give students a sometimes silly voice and put them in the role of a creator too. So we can conclude that puppetry is one of an ancient forms of entertainment and has evolved tremendously all over the world over a very long period of time. It is an important art form depicting different cultures, rituals and ceremonies. It has also proved to be of great significance in the field of early education.